I was first drawn to Edda and Edda Grand Prix Racing Champions, not because it looks cute and fluffy, because this is a movie tie-in game for a movie that I had no idea was even coming out, but mainly because this game has Lidl sponsorship, and that was deeply confusing to me, and so morbidly curiously, I picked it up to see what it was all about. And I have to say, I've been pleasantly surprised. This is quite a competent kart racer. It's for 1 to 4 players, local multiplayer split screen only. But there's different modes, 8 characters taken from the movie, and what I liked about this is that each of the characters have their own base stats, and whilst you can, just like a lot of Sonic games and Crash Team Racing, where you can kind of add on parts to your cars to kind of give you a drift version, a power version and a grip version of your car, actually, those base stats still stay slightly across all of the different variations of your characters, meaning that it's not just about pure visual appeal that your characters are chosen, they do genuinely play slightly differently too. The other thing I really like about this game is that it does an F1 Race Stars approach to real-world locations. And so where you'll race from UK, Germany, Italy, France and Switzerland, and it picks out key locations and memorable places like the Eiffel Tower, Westminster Bridge, all of those types of areas. And it then turns it into like a crazy cartoony version of it. F1 Race Stars did this too with real F1 circuits, and this does something very similar, and it makes the game quite charming to drive around, even if the graphics aren't going to be at that top tier AAA level title. This feels, and it plays actually, like a really decent PS3 game, and I mean that in a very nice way, because I wasn't expecting like absolutely crazy graphics everywhere, but everything runs smoothly, there's a lot on show, and it's bright and colourful, and I think it brings back some lost nostalgia of a very simple kart racer that tries to do the basics well, and largely does so. Now, I talked about the 8 playable characters and how they all handle slightly differently. The way how this game plays is you have the ability to collect boost orbs as you drive around the different tracks, and there are 12 tracks in total, and I would say that's probably one of the negatives of this game, is that I'd have liked a couple more. However, as you collect these different boost tokens, that will then charge up your boost to then blast forward once it's fully charged. You can't partially charge a boost and go further and faster, but you can also drift to try and charge up your boost as well. And this brings me to probably the biggest down point of this game, and it's the drift is not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. So if you drift properly in order to charge up your boost meter, you then scrub off speed, but you don't gain back enough by having to drift for so long to try and get something over the line. And so you go faster and further by just ignoring drift entirely and just focusing on driving around corners and collecting the boost bubbles as you go. Alongside that, there's, I think, 10 or 12 different power-ups that you can then use to attack your opponents. And some of those might be homing missiles or drones as they are in this game. It could be leaving slime goo behind you. There's nothing out of the ordinary or different or strange with the different collectibles. But what you can do is change the difficulty of the AI for how friendly or mean they are, so that you can tone down some of the pickups and the rate of which the enemies and the AI will throw it at you, because they do love a last minute let's all pile on the player sometimes, which means you'll go from first to sixth quite quickly and then have to scrabble for the line at last minute's notice. There's 3 different speeds of the game as well, depending on which engine you pick, and as you play through the game you will level up, which will then unlock different colour palettes for your characters, different horns to sound, trails behind you, whether you want like smoke or rainbows or something like that. And then you can save 3 different variants of each character's car to then switch in and out of, so that you can have like different custom variations of it too, which was all quite nice. The XP as you level up is given relatively generously, but you'll be able to pick it up throughout all of the different modes in the game. There are 3 cup challenges to complete. Each one has 4 tracks, so there's the 12 tracks in the game. and you can do like a 4-race championship to try and win that. Single race is single race, and again you can do 1, 2, 3 or 4 players across all of these modes. Then there is ring race, and what this is it places loads of like croquet rings across the tracks, and then if you're the first one through them, you'll get like 50 points per ring. If you're then following someone else through them whilst it's kind of taken away and faded for a few seconds, you'll get 20 or like 30 points. But the quicker you chain them up, the more score you win. And then it's a combination of how many rings you cleared and how much you've scored from that, plus scoring points for your finishing position gets you a combined score. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this mode because sometimes it can play to be tactical and hold back just a couple of seconds, then collect all of the points for the rings and then make a last lap dash as fast as you can to try and get to the end. There's also time trial mode as well, which has a gold, silver and bronze time to attack, and I have to say the gold times are actually quite difficult to get, and that might be because although there's only 12 tracks, they all contain multiple routes, and so depending on how you've then kitted out your cart to then, or vehicle to tackle the track, and then the route that you choose, and then making sure you drive perfectly, that is how you get those gold times. And it does take a lot of precision and finesse to be able to do. What I really like about Edda Grand Prix Racing Champions is that whilst this is a movie tie-in game, it's not doing that just autoplay stuff that so many of these kart racers are now starting to do because they're aiming themselves at like 3 and 4-year-olds. This requires skill. You're going to have to drive properly. You are going to have to strategize. And I give props to the developer for actually going fully in and developing a proper racing game. And none of this autopilot trash that's coming out recently, which can be very helpful for toddlers. This is very much aimed at that like 7 to 10-year-old range, because you're going to need skill to get over the line. And because split screen works so well, it's smooth, the handling is benign but grippy and predictable, it just works. And whilst this isn't AAA top tier, this is certainly nowhere near the bargain bin trash that often movie tie-ins come out with. This feels very mid-tier, and I think that's why I'm talking about like PS2, PS3 era of gaming, where this type of thing was very serviceable and would get you hours of joy out of it. And so for me, this is probably a recommend on a sale rather than a full price purchase buy. But yeah, hats off to the devs for going above and beyond. Did I understand why Lidl sponsor this? Absolutely not. But it just adds to the charm and mystique of why this game is the ultimate 7 out of 10. And I mean that in a really nice way, because movie tie-ins don't get that kind of love. So yeah, Edda Grand Prix Racing Champions, much better than you'd think it would be.